Alright guys, in this video I wanted to show why I've sunk over 100 hours into this gorgeous game. So this is called Dyson Sphere Program. It is developed by an indie Chinese developers. It's in early access, so if you haven't heard about it too much, that's probably why. But games being early access should not stop you from playing them, especially the recent indie titles like Factorio, like Dyson Sphere Program, like Valheim. These developers really know what's up, and you can tell because in their games they focus so heavily on the systems that govern the mechanics of the game, and they're often so polished to a point where you might not encounter bugs. In my 10 to 20 hours of Valheim, I haven't hit a bug. And same thing with Dyson Sphere, which is shocking given the complexity. So what is this game? Let me move away from this like super planet here and go to the original planet I'm from and show you what it is. So Dyson Sphere Program is a game where, uh, how would I put it? You have to build. The objective of the game is to build a Dyson sphere, and now it's not as just a side objective either. You need to build a Dyson sphere in order to even have enough power to build further. When you start the game, you start on a piece of land that kind of just looks like this, right? So you're a little mech. You have the ability to, let's say, mine resources, right? You can mine or like log trees. You can't really collect water, but you can do that separately. And by doing that, you can start automating things. So once you've collected enough resources, you can do things like put down a what are these called? I just call them miners. A mining machine. So you can put those down. No resources in this area, but you can put it down, and then it'll start collecting. It'll start collecting them, and then you can start making belts, which start transporting those resources. I guess it'll be considered very much in the realm of building games and logistics games like City Skylines or Factorio. And then from there, the progression loop starts. So you can use you can gather these resources, transport these resources. You can also process them using either smelting or assembling machines, depending on the recipe that you're trying to craft. And the name of the game is to scale your operation by automating. So at some point you're going to be annoyed just like building smelters manually in this menu, right? Like in order to build a smelter, you need, okay, I need 4 iron ingots, I need 2 stone bricks, I need 4 circuit boards, and I need 2 magnetic coils. So you'll have to automate each of these components, but you can also automate the construction of this thing and then put it in a box. So now you don't need all of these resources just lying around in your inventory, which will get very full, and you want to keep your inventory very efficient. You will start, you'll automate the construction. And then so you can see where that's going. Okay, like I can build more stuff, but like what's your immediate objective when you start? It's to start researching. So there's an entire technology tree in this game where you start. The first thing you research is the ability to generate electricity, and then from there there's this entire progression chain of things you will have to get through in order to get to mission complete, which requires, and how the progression works is you start by researching certain matrices. So these are items that you have to continuously produce in order to do research. And then you unlock different types of cubes. So you can start with the blue cube, and then eventually you'll research the red cube, which will and the results of the research will be required to get to the next phase. And the next one is yellow, then it's purple, and then it's green. And once you put all of those together, then you can research the white matrix. So let me show you little bit of how that works. So this is very much a late stage planet. I've built a lot of automation, and you can see just the sheer scale of things. This isn't even it's the final form. If you check out some Dyson Sphere streamers, YouTubers like Nilaus, you'll see that they have some insane setups. Um, but yeah, like let's see. Let me take you to a planet in this system where let me see if I can find that planet. Okay, there we go. Shala 4. This is the fourth planet in this solar system. Whew. Okay. So this is a very late stage version again. I'm going to acknowledge that. But how it works is I have these interplanetary or interstellar logistic stations, and they allow me to transport resources without having belts. And they also allow me to transport resources between planets and between solar systems. So I'll show you that in a moment. And in each of them, I need to bring in the resources that are required to research that specific matrix. And because I've already researched everything in this game except for the final stage, all of these, everything that's produced gets piped over into this interstellar logistics station, and all five sciences, the blue one's just ramping up, I guess. There, I have some resource shortages, so I have to work on that. They get combined into white matrices, and then all of these get used in research, which is what this ginormous stack is for. And then we'll be able to continuously research things like the energy circuit, so how fast your mech refuels. And there's really no end to how far this can scale. I've seen YouTubers just fill up half an entire planet with this kind of research. Right now, I'm mostly content with the rate at which things are going, but I really want to double things, and there are a lot of resource bottlenecks I need to solve before I can do that. But yeah, this is the first objective you have. It's to keep researching so that you can build newer, bigger, better things. Now you'll notice that as you're researching, you hit resource bottlenecks, kind of like what I just said before. And to get more resources, you will need to get to other planets. So you saw me going between. Shala 2, which was my starter planet, to Shala 4, and all of that is within this solar system. But there are many other solar systems, and it keeps going. These worlds are all procedurally generated based on a seed, so very similar to Valheim if you're familiar with that. And the further away you go, the more valuable resources there are. Now here I haven't been able to get this far. I need many more mech upgrades in order to have enough energy to get there. And once I get there, it's not enough that I can get there. I need to be able to build stuff there. There's a lot I need to automate. The progression is really neat. When you start, you can only fly at your default flying speed, but once you unlock something called the warp core, which is what these are called, the science warper, once you get the research and once you have the resource automation to actually get these components, then you can fly at closer to light speed and get to these further systems much faster. The scale of this game is daunting. You can see all these interstellar logistics ships flying through between the stars that I have colonized, and they're usually mining things like iron or titanium or copper, and they're bringing it back into my system for processing. Why I moved away from my main planet for building is because it simply ran out of space. So that's a really neat problem that Dyson Sphere presents. You can technically build a lot of stuff on your planet, but you need the appropriate power. And right now, my strongest power generation is this thing called the ray receiver. which is a souped up version of a solar panel, but it produces much more power, and it extracts that power directly from the Dyson Sphere, which you have to keep launching rockets at in order to build. And this Dyson Sphere has been in progress for many hours at this point. Don't know exactly how much. And it's definitely not done yet. If I shoot more rockets, I'll be able to build it faster. But again, resource constraints. These are problems that I have to keep solving. Before the Dyson Sphere, though, let me just show you something a little more visually exciting. Let's do a fly through while I talk more about the game. So you'll see these blue. Let's see if I can get a better view here. So you'll see these blue solar sails being launched out, and these aren't, this isn't building the Dyson Sphere itself. You'll see this glowing ring. This is called these are called solar sails, and it's a precursor to the Dyson Sphere. You can get a lot of energy from it, especially because you might not have the research and the resources to build this physical permanent Dyson Sphere structure, but you can launch these temporary solar sails, which expire in about 20 to 30 minutes, I believe. So you need to keep launching it, and in order to keep launching, you need to keep feeding it resources. But what that'll let you do is build more stuff. And without launching solar sails, it's actually really difficult to even get to this Dyson Sphere building stage. So yeah, once I solve all these resource bottlenecks, once I expand production, especially if my base resources, my base material, my base components, I'll be able to get much further. So what's next? What's next for a player like myself who's 100 hours in, colonize a couple of different star systems? Well, it's to go much further, right? Like, why stop at one Dyson Sphere? Why not build a Dyson Sphere at every single star I visit? And if I were to do that, what does it take? Because it took long enough to scale production to work for this one planet, and it's not even going at the speed I wanted to. What if I wanted to build it for like any star I visit? Especially this neat thing over here. Like, what if I wanted to get all the way to this black hole, which is really far from everything, and be able to pipe all the resources I need to build a Dyson Sphere extremely quickly, like within hours, and not, tens of hours like it took me for my first planet. That is the next stage of my progression, and you can keep going. There's really no end. There's really no end to Dyson Sphere. Like, as long as you have creativity and you set new and bigger goals for yourself, you can keep going and going and going. The day-to-day playing, it very much feels like programming. So if you've played Factorio, you already know what programming feels like. You have these inputs, you have these data inputs, you have these functions that transform the data. You get new outputs. You need to structure and position them appropriately. You need to know how those functions are going to scale. So it's really relaxing, and I think if you are a software developer, or if you know any software developers, you guys should definitely try playing co-op. The only downside of Dyson Sphere is that it doesn't have co-op just yet. I imagine it's in the plans, but it'll be really exciting to just sit down with your friend and say, hey man, I'm gonna work on resource expansion here. I'm gonna work on colonizing this system and that system. Could you focus on the logistics of the assembling machines, of the interstellar station, just logistics, all the planning, all the laying out? Could you do that while I focus on colonization, or vice versa? And once you identify problems, you can assign responsibilities and really go after this. Maybe you could reach this point in 30 or 40 hours of co-op instead of 100 hours of solo. I think it'll be really exciting. It's definitely something I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I hope I showed you I hope I gave you guys a good tour of Dyson Sphere, and why, even as just living a generally busy life, I've been playing it happily for over 100 hours, and I have absolutely no regrets. This is absolutely a game that I recommend to anyone who's interested in games where you set your own goal and the game doesn't tell you what to do.